Alvin Brooks White, Stuart Little. Элвин Брукс Уайт, Стюарт Литтл. Домашнее чтение, английский клуб. Уровень Pre-Intermediate. Iris Press. Chapter 5. Stuart disappears. One fine morning in May, when Stuart was 3 years old, he got up early as usual, washed and dressed himself, took his hat and stick and went downstairs. Nobody was there but Snowball, the white cat. Snowball was always an early riser. In the mornings he liked to lie in the window-sill and think about the days when he was a kitten. "Good morning," said Stuart. "Hello," answered Snowball dryly. "You're up early, aren't you?" Stuart looked at his watch. "Yes," he said, "it is only 5 minutes past 6, but I want to do some exercises." "Haven't you done all your exercises in the bathroom when you make such a terrible noise? You woke up all the house in order to brush your teeth. I think that your teeth are so small that there need is no to brush them. Do you want to see some good teeth? Look at mine." Here Snowball opened his mouth and showed his white teeth sharp as needles. "Yours are very nice," said Stuart, "but mine are all right too. As for exercise, I do it every day. I bet my stomach muscles are firmer than yours." "I bet they aren't." Stuart wanted to show Snowball that he had very good stomach muscle, but he didn't know how to do that. So he looked around the room. There were window shades on the windows which could roll up, each shade with a cord and ring. This gave Stuart an idea. He climbed to the window-sill, took off his hat and put down his stick. "You can't do this," he said to the cat, and he ran and jumped into the ring like an acrobat. A strange thing happened. When Stu pulled the ring, Widow's shade flew up to the top of the window, rolling Stuart up inside. "Oh dear," said Snowball. He was almost as surprised as Stuart himself. "That will be a lesson to him." "Help! Let me out!" cried Stuart. He was frightened, and it was very difficult to breathe inside the shade. But his voice was too weak and nobody heard him. Snowball laughed. He did not like Stuart and did not want to let him out. He did not run upstairs and did not tell Mr. and Mrs. Little about this accident. He did a strange thing inside. He quickly looked around, then ran to the window-sill, took Stuart's hat and stick in the mouth, carried them to the kitchen, and put them down near the mouse hole. When Mrs. Little came into the kitchen and found Stuart's thing on the floor, she screamed loudly. "It has happened!" she cried. "What has?" asked her husband. "Stuart went down the mouse hole." Слова и выражения к тексту. But, кроме. Hello, привет. You were up early, aren't you? Рано ты встал, не так ли? To do some exercises. Позаниматься гимнастикой. Look at mine. Посмотри на мои. Mine are all right too. У меня тоже неплохие. As for exercises. Что касается гимнастики. I bet. Держу пари, что. Ran and jumped onto the ring. Подпрыгнул и ухватился за кольцо. He was almost as surprised as Stuart himself. Он удивился не меньше самого Стюарта. Let me out. Выпустите меня. What has happened? Что случилось? Что произошло? Chapter 6. Rescued. George thought that the first thing to do was to break the kitchen floor. He ran and got his hammer and his screwdriver. I will have this old floor up in a moment. He put the screwdriver under the first board and tried to raise it. No, we must not break the floor. Let us have a good search first, said Mr. Little. You can put that hammer away where you got it. Oh, all right, said George. I see that nobody in this house thinks about Stuart but me. Mrs. Little began to cry. My poor dear little son, she said. I know that we shall never find him. If you yourself can't go down a mouse hole, it does not mean that students cannot, said Mr. Little. Please, don't cry. Maybe we must put some food down into the hole, said George. The police did it when our men got stuck in a cave. I read about it myself. George ran to the dining room and came back with a cup of applesauce. We can pour some applesauce into the hole and it will run down to Stuart, he said. Stop that! Cried Mr. Little. George, will you kindly let me handle this situation? Put the applesauce away immediately! And he looked angry at George. I only tried to help my own brother, said George and carried the applesauce back. Let us call Stuart, said Mrs. Little. It is quite possible that he has lost his way. Very well, said Mr. Little. I will count 3, we shall call Stuart, then we shall all keep quiet for 3 seconds and wait for the answer. He took out his watch. Mr. and Mrs. Little and George bent down on their hands and knees and pulled their mouth close to the mouse hole. Then they all called, Stuart! And then they all kept quiet for 3 seconds. Stuart heard them from the lowered-up shade and called back, Here I am! But the voice was too weak and nobody heard him. Again, said Mr. Little. 1, 2, 3. Stuart! But there was no answer. Mrs. Little went up to her bedroom, lay down, and began to cry. Mr. Little went to the telephone and rang up the Bureau of Missing Persons. But when the man from the bureau asked for a description of Stuart, and Mr. Little told him that he was only 2 inches high, the man angrily hung up. George went down the cellar in order to find another entrance into the mouse hole. He moved and pushed trunks, boxes, baskets, flower pots, and broken jars, but he did not find any hole. Instead, he found an old rowing machine. He became interested in it, carried it upstairs, and rowed the whole morning. When lunchtime came, all 3 sat down to lunch, but it was a sad meal. They tried not to look at small empty chair near Mrs. Little's glass of water. Stuart's parents could not eat, even and George ate nothing but some applesauce. After lunch, Mrs. Little began to cry again. I'm sure that Stuart is dead, she said. Nonsense! Nonsense! answered Mr. Little. If he is dead, said George, we must pull down all the shades in the house. And he ran to one of the windows and began to pull down the shade. George! shouted Mr. Little. Stop it! It is idiotic! But the shade rolled down and Stuart dropped out of the shade on the windowsill. Mom! Look who is there! cried George. You pulled down the shade in time, said Stuart. That's all I can say. He was very weak and hungry. Mrs. Little was so glad to see him that she began to cry again. Of course, everybody wanted to know what had happened, and Stuart told them the whole story while he had some lunch. So, you see, it was simply an accident, he said. As to my hat and stick, which you found near the mouse hole, you can draw your own conclusions. Слова к тексту. Rescued. Спасен. The first thing to do was. Первое, что нужно сделать, это. I will have this old floor up in a moment. Я этот старый пол мигом разворачу. Let us have a good search first. Давайте сначала хорошенько поищем. But me, кроме меня. When a man got stuck. Когда какой-то человек застрял. Will you kindly let me handle this situation? Не будешь ли ты любезен разрешить мне самому распоряжаться? He has lost his way. Он заблудился. I will count 3. Я сосчитаю до 3. Went down on their hands and knees. Опустились на четвереньки. Called back. Откликнулся. Bureau of Missing Persons. Бюро по розыску пропавших людей. Asked for a description. Попросил дать описание. Hung up. Повесил трубку. Rowing machine. Гребной станок. Тренировочный аппарат для занятий греблей. Ate nothing but. Ничего не ел, не съел, не ел ничего, кроме. We must pull down all the shades in the house. Мы должны опустить шторы во всем доме. Mom, сокращение от mother. Мама. What had happened? Что произошло? As to. Что касается. You can draw your own conclusions. Можете сделать выводы сами. Chapter 7. Stuart goes out for a walk. One morning, when the wind was from the east, Stuart put on his sailor suit and his sailor hat and decided to go out for a walk. But before he went out, he took his spyglasses from the shelf. This spyglasses was a special glass, like a sailor's. Through the glass, Stuart could see the things that were far away. He always took his spyglass with him when he went for a walk because he was afraid of dogs. Every time he saw a dog through his spyglass, he ran to nearest doorman, climbed his leg, and hid in a pocket of his coat. Once, when there was no doorman in the street, Stuart had to crawl into a yesterday paper and sit till danger was past. So that morning, full of the joy of life and the fear of dogs, Stuart went out walk in his sailor suit and his sailor hat. At the corner of Fifth Avenue, several people waited for the bus, and Stuart joined them. Nobody noticed him because he was very small. I'm so small that nobody noticed me, thought Stuart, but I'm big enough to go on a bus. When the bus came into view, all the people waved their sticks and handbags, and Stuart waved his spyglass, and the driver stopped the bus. The step of the bus was too high for Stuart, so he took hold of a gentleman's shoes and got into the bus without any trouble. Stuart could not buy tickets on the buses because he was not big enough to carry money on his pocket. Once, when somebody gave him a dime, he had to roll it along like a hoop. But as he grew older, he understood that it was not good to ride on a bus without a ticket. So he asked to his father to help him, and Mr. Little made him special tiny dimes out of tin foil. They were so tiny that it was difficult to see one without spectacles. When the conductor came up to him, Stuart took one of his dimes out of his purse. It was no bigger than the eye of a grasshopper. What is this? Asked the conductor. It is one of my dimes, said Stuart. Is it? Said conductor. I'm afraid it will be difficult to explain it to the bus company. Why, you are no bigger than a dime yourself. Yes, I am, said Stuart angrily. I'm twice as big as a dime. Besides, I did not come in on bus to be installed. I beg your pardon, said the conductor, and gave him a ticket. You must forgive me. I had no idea that in all the world there was such small sailor. Live and learn, said Stuart dully, and put his purse back in his pocket. Слова к тексту. Goes out for a walk. Выходит прогуляться. Till danger was past. Пока опасность не миновала. Full of the joy of life and the fear of dogs. Преисполненной радости жизни и страха перед собаками. Fifth Avenue, Пятая авеню. Одна из главных улиц Нью-Йорка. В центральной части Нью-Йорка одни улицы идут с севера на юг, avenues, другие с запада на восток, streets. Те и другие обозначаются порядковыми номерами. Came into view, показался. To hold off, уцепился за. Without any trouble, без всяких забот. Is it? Вот как? Why? Да ведь, междометие, выражающее удивление. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm bigger than a coin. Нет, больше. Yes в отрицательных по смыслу предложениях может переводиться словом нет. I'm twice as big as a dime. Я в два раза больше 10-центовой монеты. I did not come on the bus to be insulted. Я не для того сел в автобус, чтобы меня оскорбляли. I had no idea. Я понятия не имел. Live and learn. Век учись, век живи. Век живи, век учись. Пословица. Central Park. Центральный парк в Нью-Йорке. Chapter 8. A Fair Breeze. When the bus stopped at the 72nd Street, Stuart jumped out and hurried to the sailboat pond in the Central Park. The west wind blew over the pond, and 3 were many toy boats and schooners. They sailed with the wind. Their wet decks gleamed in the sun. The owners of these boats, boys and girl men, watched their ships and all the time ran around the pond. They tried to keep the boats from bumping. Some of the toy boats were not so small. Their mainmast was taller than a man's head. They were very beautiful and ready for sea. To Stuart, they seemed very big, and he wished to get on board one of them and sail away to the far corners of the pond. He was a brave little fellow and loved the breeze, the waves, and the cries of the seagulls. He sat on the shore and looked at the ships through his spyglass. He noticed one boat which seemed to him thinner and prouder than all the others. Her name was Wasp. She was a big black schooner with the American flag on the mainmast and a cannon on the deck. She is the ship of me, thought Stuart. When they was sailing, he ran up to the man who stood on the shore near the schooner. "Excuse me, sir," said Stuart. "Are you the owner of the schooner Wasp?" "I am," answered the man. He was surprised to see a mouse in a sailor's suit. "I'm looking for a job on a good ship," said Stuart. "Perhaps you will take me. I'm strong and I'm quick." "Are you sober?" asked the owner of the Wasp. "I never drink," asked Stuart dryly. The man looked sharply at him. He liked the trim appearance and bold manner of this little sailor. "Well," he said at last, and turned the Wasp toward the center of the pond. "I will tell you what I will do with you. Do you see that big racing boat there?" "I do," said Stuart. "That's the Lilian," said the man, "and I hate her with all my heart." "Then so do I," cried Stuart. "I hate her because she always bumps into my boat," said the man, "and because her owner is a lazy boy who does not understand sailing. He cannot tell a mast from a mist, or a deck from a dock," cried Stuart. "I will tell you what we'll do," said the man. "The Lilian is faster than my boat, and it usually beats the Wasp. But if someone is on the deck and handles the boat, it will be quite a different story. Nobody knows how I suffer when I stand here on shore, helpless, and watch the Wasp. She needs a steady hand on her wheel. So, my young friend, you will sail the Wasp across the pond and back, and if you can beat that Lilian, I will give you a regular job." "Aye, aye, sir," said Stuart. He jumped on board the schooner and took the place at the wheel. "Ready!" he cried. "One moment," said the man. "How are you going to beat on our the boat?" "I am going to set more sail," said Stuart. "Not in my boat, thank you," said the man quickly. "You may upset the Wasp." "Well then," said Stuart, "I shall fire off the cannon. But it must be a boat race and not a sea battle." "Well then," said Stuart, "I shall fire off the cannon." "Well then," said Stuart cheerful, "I will sail straight to the opposite shore with all my might, and we shall see who goes faster." "Bravo!" cried the man, "and good luck to you." The wind filled the sails of the schooner, and she sailed off. Stuart turned the wheel. By the by, cried the man on shore, you haven't told me your name. My name is Stuart Little, cried Stuart, and the top of his lungs. Good luck, Stuart, cried his friend. Take care of yourselves and of the ship. Aye, aye, sir, shouted Stuart. He was so proud and happy that he began to dance on the deck. He even did not notice a streamer which almost bumped into the schooner. Слова и выражения в главе. I had no idea. Pardon? With the wind, с попутным ветром. They tried to keep the boats from bumping. Они пытались помешать лодкам столкнуться друг с другом. Were ready for sea, были готовы к плаванию. To get on board one of them, попасть на борт одного из них. Her name was Wasp, корабль назывался Оса. В английском языке ship и boat существительные женского рода. She is the ship of me. Это именно тот корабль, который мне нужен. Sailed in, подошла к берегу. Sir, сэр, сударь. Вежливое обращение к мужчине, обычно старшему по возрасту или по положению. Are you sober? Ты не пьющий? The trim appearance and bold manner. Аккуратный вид и уверенная манера держаться. The Lilian, Лилиан, название парусника. With all my heart, всей душой. Then so do I, тогда и я тоже. Ненавидеть, к примеру. He cannot tell a mast from a mist. Он не может отличить мачты от тумана. Здесь и ниже составляются похожие по звучанию слова морского обихода. Bets – обгоняет. I will give you a regular job. Я возьму тебя на постоянную работу. Aye, aye, sir. Морское. Есть, сэр. To set more sail. Прибавить парусов. I shall fire off the cannon. Я выстрелю из пушки. Good luck to you. Желаю удачи. By the by. Кстати, at the top of his lungs. Что было мочи. Take care of yourself and of the ship. Береги себя и судно.